Hi, everyone. This is Matthew from Survivor Now podcast. Today, I am talking to Nathan, the 13th castaway eliminated from Survivor UK, sixth place overall, and as we always like to say, fifth runner up. Nathan, how are you doing today?
Absolutely fantastic. Really good. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to be talking to you, but not happy to be talking to you this early. If you've been watching Survivor Now podcast, you may know that myself and Randy, we've been big fans of yours. So just let's talk about the actual airing of the episode. Are you all caught up?
Yeah. All up to speed.
All right, perfect. How does it feel having seen your entire story play out?
It's good to get the full context because there was certain parts that you just had gaps to, and so really only yesterday was the first time that I'd completed that jigsaw of how I ended up where I ended up and all of what went into that journey. So yeah, it's been enlightening for
Well,
sure.
there's a couple of things I definitely want to get your reaction to, especially having seen them play out, like you said, in the episodes, maybe some stuff you didn't see while you were actually experiencing it firsthand. But let's start from the very beginning. One of the first moments that we see of you on camera is when Joel actually makes a reference to your physical build. So I want to know, were you concerned at all about being perceived as a physical threat going into the game?
Yeah, I always knew that my physicality would represent a double-edged sword, and from watching previous seasons, I know that the physical person tends to have a target on their back, and rightly or wrongly, just almost it's synonymous with being a challenge beast, and whether or not that is the case. So I knew that that would present some challenges at some point, but I also knew that in the early days, people would want that physical strength in their tribe. So it was just about how I navigated and managed that, I guess.
Well, I'm sure your tribe was happy to see you go up against Doug a couple of times throughout the season. We have some great, memorable moments of one-on-ones and head-to-heads between you and Doug. I was curious to know, did you ever want to try to use those moments as a way to paint Doug as a bigger target?
Not specifically, to be fair, but I think it definitely came into the thinking when Doug eventually went. That was definitely part of what went into my thought process, certainly. Um, but at that stage, you're so far away from the finish line, you couldn't really, you can't really be thinking about anyone else apart from you're just trying to make it through another day, really, every day as it comes. But certainly when it got to post merge, I definitely wanted Doug to be going before me because the physical challenges, he was going to be my biggest or nemesis. So
Do you have a favorite time that the two of you went up against each other?
I mean, I've lost both the times that we went up against each other, but I probably enjoyed the ball in the sand challenge like quite a bit. That was our first sort of battle, I guess, and it lasted a lot longer than the one that we did on the pontoon. Um, so that was quite enjoyable, and we both gave it everything. I think that he had a slight advantage in getting to the ball first, but the rest is history.
I was going to say that one really sticks out in my mind as the ultimate challenge that I'm going to remember from this season. The back slam, the everything. How's your back doing?
That's all good. That was all good.
Good.
I think that was also my first sort of taste or insight into like how big and strong like Doug was, and how much aggression he had. So I'd probably underestimated the levels of aggression because you needed to be quite determined and aggressive in that battle, and he definitely had that in buckets. So it made me appreciate that. Yeah, I'm gonna need to give this guy a bit more credit than I perhaps had given him.
Well, one thing I noticed with you, Nathan, is that you never really underestimated the strengths of others. I really enjoyed listening to how you talked about strength and how you recognized other people's personal strengths and individual strengths throughout the game. I mean, one of my favorite moments was watching you in that very first immunity challenge and how you were there to support your tribe. And I guess it got me wondering, did you get the sense that your profession as a fitness instructor, did you get the sense that that was sneaking its way into the game?
Um, I mean, I do a lot of work on diversity and inclusion, like generally. So my other lines of work, And so I've always recognized that strength doesn't look the same in different people. And, certainly in the game of Survivor, when the challenges are so varied, that my strength today is going to be my weakness tomorrow, and vice versa. So um, I knew I could appreciate that at some point I'm going to need a favor from someone else, because again, I'm not great at swimming, and so at some point there's going to be a swimming challenge, and I'm going to need someone to back me the way I'm backing them in this challenge that suits me. So so I'm not sure whether I think it's probably just a combination of all of my experiences in life that have kind of played into how I came across, I guess. Sometimes it'll do more the fitness stuff, sometimes it'll be more my other lines of work.
Well, I also really love the relationship that you formed with Tanuke. Now, I would love to know, how did your gameplay have to adapt when Tanuke ended up being swapped to Lenena?
Yeah, so essentially the whole strategy and the whole plan just flipped on its head overnight, because it felt that we had a very clear path towards the merge. At that point, then the tribe swap happened, and that path was no longer as clear, but still somewhat clear in that we had Calaton strength, and then there was I guess, two contingency votes, I guess, in Doug and Pegleg, and then I guess when Shy and Lawrence decided to vote for Jess, then that really changed the game, and so then had to really rethink, and there was only really one option there. With working with Doug and Pegleg. And so all my eggs were kind of in that one basket, but that was the only real way to kind of make it through to the merge. So yeah, definitely had to think on my feet, but there wasn't really options, because I wasn't going to work with Shy and Lawrence. It just wasn't going to happen. So, but I obviously managed to just about make them think that I was going to work with them. But even then, Shy and Lawrence probably thought, well, he might not believe what I'm saying to him, but what can he do? But I'd already obviously done my groundwork with Doug and Pegleg already.
I'm glad you sort of brought up this moment of the game for you, because as a viewer, this really felt like the first time I ever saw your game get a little bit turbulent and
Mm,
unpredictable.
yeah.
Uh, what would you say changed between your outlook on the game between Jess's blindside and then working with Doug and Pegleg to blindside Shy? Did you see the game in a different way?
Uh, Not really. I think I'd expected this type of play to come out. Like it's inevitable. But I perhaps hadn't expected it to come out so soon. And maybe that was naive of me, but I expected this sort of play to come out after the merge. At this stage, like that move was, for me, in my opinion, was a bit premature, because it kind of, put the cat amongst the pigeons, and then it just, and because ultimately Shy and Lawrence probably both would have made it to the merge had they stuck to the game plan. But they wanted to do something different, which you're gonna have to do at some point. But doing it at that point meant that the target then turned, and then the target was then on. And it's only fortunate for Lawrence that we went to the merge at the next challenge. Otherwise, he would have been next. And so for me, they disrupted what would have been a clear path to the merge that, yeah, only one of them made it to, I guess. And
And
then
that
also,
path would be, oh yeah.
with Lawrence, then he's now burnt his relationship with me, and so even post merge, he's gonna have to ride all of that right until as far as he kind of got to. So it was a big move that happened very too early, way too early, in my opinion.
And the path that you were hoping to take would be to eliminate Pegleg and Doug.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. That did not end up happening. Shy did go home. Lawrence would have been next, but you all made it to the merge. But you experienced another blindside during the merge, and that was the blindside of Tanuke. So Lawrence did inform Tanuke that she would be receiving votes. Were you also made aware that Tanuke would receive votes?
Yeah, Tanuke told me and said that she feels worried because something Lawrence had just said to her, and I didn't really pay it too much attention. I was like, like, why would they do that? Because there had been nothing that I'd sort of heard and that I'd come across. So I was just like, the only inkling that I had was um Pegleg was doing like some carving for Doug, like he was writing on the tackle box, and it almost made me think that this guy is still thinking about Doug and his relationship with Doug. So he's kind of holding on to something there that feels like that's a man scorned, and a man scorned, can do some dangerous stuff. So that was the only inkling that I had, because Tanuke and Hannah had a relationship, and she would talk quite highly of that relationship. I had a relationship with Hannah, and we connected on this people of color aspect, and so therefore, and we were talking. We were all from London as well, so we were connecting on that. And it's like, well, actually, this feels like a real relationship or a real friendship. But ultimately, Hannah was using that to kind of, I guess, win us over and was playing the game.
Oh, interesting. And also, we have to also talk about Matthew too, who also was responsible for Tanuke being blindsided as well. The working relationship with Matthew there was no way you thought that he was going to flip on you, right?
Yeah, absolutely no way. Like, and that again, we're probably going back to when I'd always, at some point, I knew things would need to change, and someone would have to, if they really wanted to win, they would have to do something a bit different, a bit off piece, and a bit um, ruthless. And so for me, it wasn't a matter of if, it was more when. And I just felt
Mhm.
that the when move for Tanuke was very early, um, because I think we were just kind of like trying to get through as far into the game as we could. And I guess it was at day 28 at that point, day 28, day 27. So there's not much left in the game. But I guess Matty he had a different vision for how that last week was going to go. And again, based on information he had to make a decision. He's his own person, which he did.
Yes, he did. Now, you were also very vocal about the fact that you, Tanuke, and Matthew, that was your ideal final three.
Yeah.
Were the three of you very vocal and did you all find opportunities to meet up at camp to continue the discussion, continue the positive thinking towards the final three with
Yeah.
all of you at the end?
Absolutely. And we would be quite strategic in how we do that as well. So we might do it in twos. So I might catch up with Tanuke with them with Matty, and then I would do with Matty. And so we would always do it in sort of quite, and like very early morning before anyone woke up, or very late at night when no one doesn't know where you are. So we were very strategic in how we done it, but we would always like reinforce that vision, and how we saw um the last few days playing out. So yeah, but I guess only two of us was really like bought into that vision, and that was me and Tanuke.
We also have to talk about I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. What is your reaction, Nathan, to all of the series of events that led up to you being the one to get the idol out of the lobster
Oh.
cage?
So the funniest thing is, I didn't actually know how that lobster cage happened to be open. Until the episodes just passed, I didn't know why it was open. So then to see that actually Chris and Matty had found the key, left it open, I was like, oh my gosh. So I guess, so what happened was, got back from tribal council. I'm sorry, got back from the immunity challenge, didn't win. So like, well, if I don't find this key or this idol, um, then I'm going home tonight. It's pretty clear. So I was quite vocal in saying I'm going to look for this key, this immunity idol, and obviously no one else really was that bothered, and I didn't really. I was like,
Hmm.
this is interesting. Um, so then I went, and no one followed me, nothing or anything like that. So I was looking among the caves, looking for ages, and then it just took me further and further up the beach until I was practically at the lobster trap. So then I thought, well, let me just check around the lobster trap. Lifted it up as you saw, and then I just looked down and the clasp was open, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" At first, I thought somebody's taken it. It's gone. I was like, "Oh man, missed it. How did they get it? When did they get it?"
Right.
And then when I opened it and it was still there, I said, "Could not believe my luck. Could not believe my luck." Um, but then what happened was on the way back down the camp to the beach, down towards the camp, uh, Lawrence and Hannah were walking up towards me. And so there's nothing up that side of the beach apart from where this lobster trap was. So I'm going to be walking back and they're going to say, "Oh, did you find anything?" "Oh, no, I didn't find anything." They're going to get to the lobster trap. Idol's not there. "Oh, wonder
Right.
who's got Idol." There's not many of us left now. So there's 7 of us. Everyone else is at the camp. I'm the only one up there. They're going to find out that it was me. So I thought, let me try and um, be quite bullish with what I'm going to do here and try and work with them, try be in on the strategy, on the plan, and almost just throw the cat amongst the pigeons to try and, all right, should we vote for him? Should we not vote for him? Should we vote for him? Should we not vote for him? Um, and so I was quite abrasive at tribal council, quite provocative, intentionally to try and see who's going to vote for me as well, because I'd rather have my enemies in plain sight as well. So yeah, the whole, I needed that immunity idol, and luck, fate, immunity, survivor gods provided it. But yeah, it was definitely a welcomed exercise for sure.
Was there any speculation amongst the tribe of who may have opened it, or was it just sort of accepted that it was left open?
I mean, Matty and Chris would have known, but as far as I was aware, there was no talk as to like what happened. I just said it was open, and that was it. Like no one really questioned it. I mean, it didn't really matter, I guess, because at the end of the day, I had the immunity idol, and that was that. But it's absolutely hilarious that um, that was the events that led to it being open.
Oh yeah, it's probably my favorite moment of the season thus
Yeah.
far. Going into tribal council, I really thought that you were going to place a vote on Matthew. When did you decide to vote for Lawrence?
So I still had a bit of a sour taste in my mouth from when Lawrence voted against me pre-merge, and I probably would have seen him go even earlier than Doug, perhaps even earlier than Ashley, maybe. But it made more sense to keep him around strategically because Tanuka had a relationship with him. He kind of didn't really have any other allies. So from a numbers perspective, it made sense to keep him around till later on. Um, I guess Matty, I was still somewhat hoping that I could leverage him to some extent, and that's why I don't know if this made it to the edit, but I had a conversation with him where I obviously said to Lawrence and Hannah that my vote would either go on Lawrence or Matty.
Hmm.
And then when I saw Matty, because Lawrence had told Matty that I'm voting for him, didn't tell him that I was also going to might vote for Lawrence. He just said, Nathan's voting for you, Matty. So Matty came to me and said, "Nathan, I heard you're voting for me." And now I said, what I actually said was my vote would either go on you or Lawrence. And then he was like, but I said, I'm probably going to vote for Lawrence. And the reason for that is because I still somewhat thought I might be able to work with Matty at some point. And so I went for Lawrence. The only, I guess, question mark was whether or not I played the idol that night or not.
Right.
But I'd played quite a bullish game up to that point. Always been quite direct with who I'm going to vote for, when I'm going to vote for them, and until I couldn't be. And so with Doug, Shy, and Rachel, I couldn't be direct about who I'm going to vote for because it would just gave it away. But in all my other votes, I was kind of like, well, I'm voting for you, I'm voting for you, because there's nothing you can do about it. This is who I'm going to vote for. So I wanted to be like direct so that when I do vote for someone else, they just don't see it coming. And I guess so I said I'm going to vote for Lawrence, voted for Lawrence, and so when I go to my next vote for my next round, and if I say to Doug and Pegleg and Hannah and Matty that I'm voting for this person, it's like, well, we're going to believe that. Why wouldn't we believe that? Because he's always done what he said he's going to do. And so when I said I'm going to vote for Chris, I guess it was 50-50 as to whether they wanted to vote for Chris or not. And if I was them, I probably would have voted for me too. And I know that some people were surprised, but I probably wasn't, because if you look at the jury, Chris hasn't got many friends, if any, on the jury. So if they take him to the final, then actually they got a better chance of winning than if they took me to the final, where I've got even Doug. They knew that, you know, we ended on like good terms. We both spoke quite highly of each other. Doug, Lee, Ashley. I still had, you know, at Tanuke, I still got lots of people that would perhaps vote for me over them. So it makes sense if winning's the kind of what you want there at that point, then yeah, it would make sense to vote to take Chris.
Yeah, that jury management is important. And as you said, it looked like you had a lot of good connections and good feelings towards the people on the jury and vice versa. Nathan, I mean, I'm so happy I got to talk to you today. Your experience on Survivor, you got to see the game from like many different perspectives. You were in control at some points. You were blindsided at some points. You were working your way from the bottom. You had to find an idol. You played an idol. You kind of got the full Survivor gameplay experience. Which part of your Survivor journey are you the most proud of?
Probably the shy vote, to be honest, because I was, as you said, I was probably bottom of the rut at that point, and that was a real low moment. It was the day when we got the letters from our kids or from our loved ones, and you know, I could have quite easily just kind of given up and said, actually, this is it, sort of thing. This is, my days are numbered here. I've got just been blindsided and I've got no allies here. But you know, made it out of that one, made it to the merge, and then I guess winning the challenge with Doug as well, because again we'd gone head to head against each other a few challenges, and then to win that one together was quite a nice moment.
Play again?
Absolutely, in a heartbeat. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, in a heartbeat. Like,
that's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
Nathan, thank you so much for joining us and for allowing us to interview you. Congratulations on the season. Thank you so much, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. See you later.